So now that the Predecessor Alpha weekend is over, I have spent some time typing, and speaking in this video, as to what my first impressions are, as well as what my feedback is now that the Alpha test weekend is over. But before we get into the feedback, I would like to remind you to subscribe if you haven't already. So to sum up the very basics of the game so far, the movement feels pretty much parallel to Paragon, although that's not so surprising because that's where the inspiration for the game came from. The map retains its very shiny high-end graphics, and all the heroes feel unique, and from my personal experience I didn't really suffer any bugs or crashes, though I did see an enemy steal randomly get stuck in the air, and I have no idea why. What? What's going on here? What's it? What is this? The good old-fashioned beatdown. I don't know what that was, but we could have just left him there for the entire game by the looks of it. The cards from Paragon have been completely scrapped, and the new item system is fully implemented now, with over 100 new items as well as a suggested build for each hero. I did stick to the suggested builds for the most part, other than a couple of items here or there, but I think for what's in the shop so far, it's a solid start, and that in a few months' time we will have both new additions plus more tuned items. I want to talk about feedback now though, and this is in no way bashing the game or saying why it's bad, it's just my thoughts on what could actually improve it. If you disagree, that's completely fine, I just wanted to state that before saying anything. The first thing I noticed when I was playing that felt a little off to me was the melee heroes, worst defender being Feng Mao, and that is when you auto attack there seems to be a little bit of delay on the damage output. I'm unsure if it was always the case even with Paragon, but I don't remember it being as obvious. It's not even a huge delay, we're talking maybe 0.1 of a second, but it is there, and when you're just last hitting and you're just trying to get that last little bit of HP off, sometimes it can just be a tad too late and you miss out on it. In terms of items, and it's mainly only damage really, I feel like the scaling of damage is quite high, though not excessively, it just seems slightly overtuned. I know that we don't want 50-minute games, and I definitely don't want 50-minute games, but it seems to never really involve team fights at the minute because people are so squishy. Most of the time one person gets caught, and then you just clean up within seconds and you don't really even get time to react if someone does get caught. You can get tanky items and tanky heroes, but it seems easier at the moment to just do high damage output, even if someone does go tanky. With the addition of armor pen, it seems like it just burns through it at the minute. On the note of team fights, it also seems that the effects on some abilities as well as the on-screen flashing I found personally quite overbearing. I would like an option to turn the HUD flash off, as well as maybe a brightness slider for effects, so if there is a lot going on, it's not, too much for your eyes. A small note on the HUD itself, I wish I could just scale it down a little bit, as I feel like it could be made a little smaller. I know it's not huge at the minute, but it's a personal preference, I just like to maximise visuals and minimise the HUD. Also the map position, I would quite like to move it just ever so slightly closer to the right edge of the screen. In terms of hero-specific feedback, so far the only real addition I would like to see is Muriel being able to click on the hero portrait of the hero she wants to go shield with her ultimate. It was an issue that Paragon had, that if 2 or 3 teammates were fighting and you wanted to ult one of them, it was never really clear which one you were ulting, and being able to click the portrait would be a way simpler way of doing it, and I think it would be a nice quality of life change for her. In terms of minion design, I do think that they could do with some minor changes, and the only reason why I say that is because right now they do look quite similar to one another. The only one that really stands out is the siege minion, and that's because he's big. Other than the ranged and melee minions having a different weapon, they do look pretty similar. One thing that I do think could change this to make them more distinguishable is to maybe change it so that the armor is slightly different on each one, maybe make it so that the melee minions have spiked shoulder pads, and make it so that the ranged minions have a spiked helmet. You could perhaps colour the shoulder pads and helmet separately, just to make it so that they stand out even more. It's not a massive issue, it's still pretty easy to tell which one's which, but I just think it should be a little bit clearer visually, because at the moment they all do have the same coloration, and the only thing that's different is the weapons. Anyway, that's pretty much all my feedback from the last 3 days. I didn't quite get to play as much as I'd like, but that's pretty much the way weekend tests go. Remember, feedback isn't for bashing what you dislike, and should always be said calmly, because raging over a bug or crash won't fix it, so just take a screenshot or describe what caused it to the devs so that they can fix it. So far, I'd say it's pretty good for an alpha, and given a few more months of polish and additions, we should be nearing a open alpha at some point, I'm gonna guess early next year, or maybe for Christmas if we're lucky. Let me know what you think of the feedback, and if you've been playing this closed alpha test, let me know what you thought of it. And with that, I will see you for the next video.